If we talk about the entire syllabus that a student has to cover, so when I say student, I mean anybody who is student or professional who is planning to give interviews, right? So they have to prepare for four things, four verticals. First of all, they have to prepare their resume. Now, when I say resume, I do not mean the resume document. Obviously, that everybody has, right? When I say resume, I mean the questions which are coming directly from resume, right? Questions like, what is the architecture of your current project, or, what is the most difficult bug that you have solved, or, questions like, give me a specific example of where you have proposed a design, but that design was not accepted, right? So these kind of questions can be either part of an interview, or there may be an interview round which is only dedicated for this kind of question, right? That round may be called behavioral round or resume round. In different companies, it has different names. But the point is that you have to prepare your resume, right? So resume means your entire experience. For example, how have you, give me a specific example where you have mentored someone, right? So in this, you have to talk about the entire thing. You have to give the entire story, that this is how it started. This is the reason why the person needs mentoring. This is the reason why I became the mentor. This is how the things went on, and this is the current status right now, right? All right. So this is this kind of preparation in this vertical is very, very personal. Even though you can, there are people who help you, but when they are helping, that help will be very, very personal. So this is the first round, first vertical. Second vertical is what we call the coding interview, right? Now, coding interview is take this word as with a pinch of salt, because sometimes people translate coding interview to data structure and algorithm. Right? Everybody knows data structure and algorithm. That is the underlying assumption that we already know data structure, we already know algorithm. But the point is that in these interviews, data structure, the complex data structures are not asked. Similarly, complex algorithms are also not asked, right? So in most of the cases, chances are that you will not be asked what is Bellman-Ford algorithm, which is a very complex algorithm, right? Which is a very interesting algorithm. You will not be asked, what is the insertion logic in the ABL tree, right? So that's why I'm saying specific algorithm is not important. What is important is that you are given a problem and you have to solve that problem. Now, while solving that problem, you will end up using some data structure and using some algorithm, right? So I don't call them coding interviews. I call them problem solving rounds, right? The output of this problem solving is code. It has to be in the form of code. Okay, that is the expectation. Okay, right? Now, here we are focusing on only one problem, one specific problem, and we are coding that problem. Now, while solving that problem, there are largely three steps. There are four steps, according to me, which a person follows, which the interviewee follows. First step is that the person should understand, the candidate should understand the question. Second step is, once we understand the question, then we should be able to logically solve the problem. Third step is, once you logically solve the problem, then you have to translate that logic into code. And fourth step is that before submitting it to the interviewer, you should do a thorough unit testing at your end, right? Now, different people find different steps challenging. Okay, I know some people, some of my students who were very good in coming up with the logic in the first place, right? So when you give them a problem, then they are very quick in coming up with the solution of the problem, very, very fast, very, very good. But they may not be able to translate even their own logic to code, right? And then there are some other people who are very, very quick in execution. So if you give them some hint and if you give them the logic, then they are very fast in converting that logic into code, right? Very, very good coders, very fast coders, but they may not be able to come up with the logical solution on their own. Okay, right? Similarly, some people spend a lot of time in just understanding the problem statement. Okay, this is especially true if the question is given in the form of a story. So, in a face-to-face interview coding round, the question is a very straightforward, direct question. Plus, you have the luxury of asking, clarifying questions. But if the interview is online and system is taking your interview, Then system has given you a problem statement. That problem statement is given in the form of a story. In that story, there may be a lot of noise. So the first step is to extract the technical question from the story. So if you have half an hour to solve a problem and you spend 10 minutes in just understanding the problem, it means that you are left with only 20 minutes for the rest of the 3 steps. Right? In coding round, these are the 4 steps, right? So different people may find different steps, that, they are good in one step and they are not good in another step, right? Then there are some people, right? I was also one of them, who are in a kind of hurry in submitting the code to the interviewer, right? So when we are solving a problem, right, there is a thread which is going on in our mind that, am I taking a lot of time, right? There is a silence in the room, right? I should be talking to the interviewer, and at the same time, you are also solving the problem, right? So in this mess, sometimes what happens is that you end up submitting the code to the interviewer in a hurry without doing thorough unit testing. So what happens is that the interviewer will point out that, hey, your code is not running for this corner case. Obviously, you will fix that, right? But that iteration between you and the interviewer may cost you, right? So what the expectation in the coding round is that when you are submitting the code to the interviewer, your code is production ready code, right? This is especially true if your experience is less than 6 years, right? Especially 3, 4, 5 years of experience. These people are considered to be the best coders in the industry because they have relevant experience and they are still hands-on coders. So if you are 10, 15 years of experience, then it is okay even if you write the pseudocode in some of the in some companies, right? But if you are 3, 4 years of experience, then most of the companies expect you to write a production ready code which is considering all the corner cases, right? If you are 15 years of experience, then expectation changes that your code should be more modular, your thought process should be methodical, right? So those are the expectations. Okay, so we have talked about 2 verticals. First is the resume, second is the coding round, right? Now third is the low level design round, right? So low level design is the design that we used to talk about some 15 years back, right? Some 15 years back, when we used to say software design, we used to talk about object-oriented design. Okay, so question is that, let's say how will you design a parking lot? So if someone asks me that how will I design a parking lot, I will say I will have a vehicle class, I will have a parking class, and then within the vehicle class, I have a lightweight vehicle class, which is the child of the vehicle class, right? So you are talking about inheritance, you are talking about abstraction, right? So essentially, we are talking at the API level. We are not talking at the function code level, right? In the coding round, we were talking at the code level. In this low-level design, we are talking at the API level. The output of the coding round was a code. The output of this low-level design is a class diagram or some UML diagram, some use case diagram, right? Right. So this low-level design used to be the only design some 15 years back because these kind of large-scale distributed data-intensive systems were not there, right? So nowadays, most of the companies are not asking this low-level design questions, low-level design, right? They cover some aspect of the design in the coding and some aspect of this low-level design in the high-level design questions, right? So this is the third vertical, which is fading out, but still a lot of companies have asked this low-level design, especially Amazon has a low-level design round, right? So that is true. So these are the 3 verticals that we have talked about. First vertical was resume, second vertical was coding, third vertical is low-level design. Now comes the 4th vertical, which is the high-level design or system design, right? So system design has become almost synonymous with high-level design, even though I consider system design includes everything, right? So is there a question, Vikas?
Not yet.
All right.
You can complete the 4th, and then there are a few questions which have been collated from other people. I'll ask those.
Sure. So 4th is the high-level design. In high-level design, we are still solving a problem. In coding round, we were solving a problem. In low-level design, we were solving a problem. In high-level design, also we are solving a problem. The nature of the problem changes. Here, let's say you want to design Twitter, and you want to make sure that the timeline of Twitter gets loaded in 1 second. Okay. So the question is very specific, that how will you make sure that the timeline of Twitter or Facebook or Instagram gets loaded in 1 second. So if you are solving this problem, then you will not say that, I will have a tweet class or I will have a user class. You will talk about the components in the system, that, I will put the cache here. This will be my data store choices, the communication, whether the communication will be synchronous or asynchronous, right? Whether you will go for hard consistency or eventual consistency, right? What kind of load balancing will you use? How will you make sure that the entire system doesn't fail, even though components of the system are failing, right? So here also we are solving a problem, just that we are solving the problem at the component level. So so these are the 4 rounds. There are 2 things which are common in all of these 4 rounds. First of all of these 4 rounds are problem solving round. You are given a problem, you have to solve the problem, right? In coding round, you are given a very specific data structure type of problem, that, let's say, how will you detect a loop in a linked list? Okay, so you are still solving the problem. In low level design, you are given a problem that, how will you design an elevator system? So this is the problem that you are solving. In high level design, how will you design the notifications of WhatsApp messenger service, right? So in the resume round, you are asked that how have you solved a problem in the past, right? So in all of these 4 rounds, we are talking about problem solving, right? This is one common thing. Second thing is that most of these rounds are technology agnostic, right? For example, in coding round, it does not matter whether you write your code in C# or Java or C++, right? It does not matter which programming language you are using. As long as you are able to solve the programming, as long as you are able to solve the problem, it is good, right? So you are expected to solve the problem, but the expectation is not that you will be so people will not be talking about a specific technology, right? Similarly, in high level design, so if you say that, you will be using an RDBMS here, then it does not matter which RDBMS you will be using, right? So it does not matter whether you will use a MySQL or Oracle or SQL Server. If you say that, in this particular use case, I will go for an RDBMS because I need asset properties, I need it to be hard consistent, right? All right. So these are the things which are important according to me. Over to you, Vikas.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Rawat, for sharing these pearls of wisdom. I'm sure participants have been benefited out of it. And we have recorded this session. We will also share it on our YouTube channel so people can refer to it, because there were so many details. I think for a beginner, even getting the hang of those words quickly will take some time. So probably they need to rewatch the video and search each and every term on Google, that what do you actually mean by that, and then they can come up with question. In the meantime, I have few questions collated which I have seen that people frequently asking, and if anybody participant would like to have any question, they can just type in the chat box or raise their hand and can ask the question. So my first observation here is that for fresher it's easy because they are just starting, they are coding. But for experienced professionals, especially if they have worked in companies which are from the service nature, they have not actually done that work. So person who is having, say, 10 years of experience, 12 years of experience, now they want to get into a product company. So what's your advice? Because they are struggling, because they are senior, they have literally started some management or team leadership type of work. They are not actually coding in a service-based company now. And now do they work on coding interview? You have mentioned 4 aspects. So what should they do?
Yeah. So first of all, there is no shortcut, right? That we have to get it, right? So if you want to, because there are multiple rounds. It is not that it is just one round, so we can just fake something, or we can just maybe we will get lucky that we get the question that we have already solved, right? So those chances are very, very rare, that a person is able to crack the interview, even if that person is not good in coding, or that person is not fully prepared, right?
Okay.
So you need full preparation, and you have to be genuinely good in coding and genuinely good in system design.
Okay.
Right? This is the first thing. Okay. The good thing is that these companies does not come with biases that only a particular person can apply, right? Now I think most of these companies have even removed the restriction of you having a degree from college, right? So if you can crack the interview, you are good enough for them, even if you are coming from any background, even if you are coming from a non-technical background, right?
Okay.
So it does not matter whether you are coming from a software development background or a non-software development background or an army background, right? As long as you know, as long as you can prove that, hey, you take my interview, I have prepared for coding interview, I have prepared for all of these three or four rounds, depending on what is relevant to you.
Okay.
So you are good enough, right? According to me, if you ask me, uh, preparing for all of these three rounds, coding, low level design, and high level design, should not take more than 3 months.
Okay.
If you are a complete beginner, right? Complete beginner means that I'm talking about person with minimal IT experience and minimal IT hands-on, right?
So minimal, we can say somebody who has done the conditional statement, if, for loop, and those type of basics are clear.
So if you have written few programs, right,
Yes.
you understand few concepts like concepts of operating system, RDBMS, right? So a person who, I'm not saying a very smart person, I'm saying that, if let's say 4 years back, I know what is C language, right?
Okay.
And I have, if required, I can compile my program, right? So that is the level at which I'm talking. So if you are at this level, then in 3 months you should be ready to send your resume to the companies. Okay. Now the selection rate of these companies is not that great. Okay, I think it is probably 2% or 3%, right?
Okay.
So I have worked in Microsoft twice. So first I joined the Hyderabad campus, then I joined the Noida campus, and I have left Microsoft twice. Similarly, I have worked in Adobe twice, and I have left Adobe twice, right? And they are great companies, right? So if today I reapply in Microsoft, right, I cannot guarantee, and I have been teaching this for 5-6 years, right? So if I apply today, I cannot guarantee that I will get selected. Maybe I'm not in a good mood, or maybe the solution is not clicking. So those kind of things happens, right? So you should take it with a pinch of salt that my preparation is good, right? My preparation is I am prepared, and then you start giving interviews. So once you start giving interviews, then you will start getting offers here and there.
Okay.
Right? So you may or may not get offer from the most coveted company in the first place, right? Let's say you are targeting Google. So maybe when you apply for the first time, you may not get the offer, not because your preparation is not good, but because maybe the interviewer was too harsh, or maybe the question that was asked, that question didn't click, right? So it can happen.
Okay.
But otherwise, I think from the point of view of preparation, I think it should not take more than 3 months, right? But a person should be ready to slog, right? So it's more like coding is more like mathematics, where you have to practice a lot. Even if you know the theorem, it does not mean that you will be able to solve the problem. You will be able to solve the mathematical question, right? So knowing the theorem is an essential thing. So knowing data structures, knowing algorithms, basic algorithms, I'm saying, not complex algorithms. Similarly, basic data structure, not complex data structures. So knowing those data structures and algorithm is a necessary thing, right?
Okay.
It is not sufficient. After that, it is all about practice, right? So practice a lot. After some time, you will develop the confidence that, okay, so now most of the questions, when they come to me, I know how to approach those questions, right?
Okay.
And same goes for system design. In system design, rather than practicing, you are reading, right?
Yes.
So you are reading a lot. So you should be subscribing to a blog, right? I will personally suggest that people should have some mentor who can continuously guide them, because it's a long period, right? So 3-4 months is a long period, right? So you may develop a sense of a sense that, yeah.
I've seen people getting that fatigue that I have tried in so many companies. Nothing
Right.
is working, so I should stay there.
So I give you an example. There was a student of mine who got recently selected in Google, right? So she prepared for almost 1 year, right? And in that 1 year, I have seen all her phases, and she has gone from HCL technologies, right, which can be quoted, loosely speaking, in a service type of environment, right? So from HCL, she has gone to Google, and in that 1 year, she has cracked Microsoft also. She has cracked Amazon also. Finally, she opted for Google, right? But these three offers came at the very end of 1 year or 1.5 years, right? So that journey of 1 year was very tiring. very tiring, very exhausting, very negative, because she was giving interviews, not getting selected, right? So she gave interview in Amazon, didn't get selected, right? And then Amazon people came back after 1 month, said that, hey, last month the interview was not that great. Do you want to try again? Right? So again, you'll have to undergo the same experience. That entire one day you have to be ready, right? So entire one day you are solving problem. So that experience is very exhausting, right? But great risk, great reward type of thing. Same, great efforts, great return, right?
Okay.
So you if you have a mentor, then that mentor keep you on track.
Yes. So definitely. So I think the summary, the key points which can be helpful for people, it's that if you are having the basic computer science knowledge, basic programming knowledge, then one can target 3 months. But even if somebody is coming from some very different field, not worked on computer or not compiled even a Hello World program, then probably 6 months to an year, but they can do it. They can keep the smaller goals. And I think it's true with there are movies on success stories like Dhoni, and we have seen the about athletic, that how people become the world class in their field. But that's true with software engineers also, that they can keep the smaller targets and keep working towards it. Those people have spent 20 years to get there, to reach to that stature. So it's worth we spending at least 2 years to get to that level of world-class talent. My next question is that founder of Freshdesk talked about developing world-class products from Chennai. So he said that what is unique about Silicon Valley, he has an Inc. talk where he's talk about that you can get good talent in a Silicon Valley. You can get 30 or 50 people with that talent. But when he started building that company out of Chennai, it's difficult to even get one person with that kind of talent. Still, he thought that we should do it, and they have their campus in Chennai. So my input, if you have any input, that is there any national level policy change? Because I see you have a lot of focus on that national level agenda also. Is there any national level policy change which can help software engineers or industry as a whole to develop this kind of talent?
Yeah, so there are two things which I think will be a game changer in probably next 4 or 5 years, right?
Okay.
One is that this government has a very strong focus on bringing fiber optics network to the village.
Okay.
Right? Now, because IT industry is so dependent on internet. So one of the problem is that, in remote places, the internet speed is not that good. Even if you are getting good speed, that speed is not reliable, that, maybe you can have a breakage, and then, for one day, the entire internet will be gone, and then, you won't be able to function. Right.
Yes.
So probably this is the reason why this software industry especially grew up in ghettos like metros, right? So Bangalore, right? And, it helps each other, right? So if the industry is there, then more talent will be there, right? Those service providers will also be there, whether it is internet service provider or housing service provider, right? Whatever is needed. Okay. So this is one thing which I think, I think they have a timeline of probably 2023 or 2024, where they are saying that every village will have a fiber optics network, right? So this is one thing which I'm very hopeful. Second is that now, because of this COVID situation, most of the people are working from home, right? So initially, company, the industry also and people also, both were very skeptical whether this work from home can actually work or not, can actually deliver or not, right? So when COVID came, people were forced to work from home. Now I live in Noida, which is very close to Delhi. So earlier, these societies were very occupied with people who were largely from software industry, right? So they were living here. After COVID, post-COVID, most of the people have gone to their home. It's not that they're not working, they're still working in the same industry. Industry is hiring like anything, right? So Microsoft is hiring more people post-COVID than they were hiring earlier, I think, right? Same is true for most of the companies. Okay.
Yes.
But those people are working from remote places, right? Some of them are working from the village, some of them are working from, wherever their parents were. So now they have tested this thing that work from home can work.
Okay.
And I think this will further grow, right? Because, it will help the industry also, because there is a huge cost if a person is coming daily to the office, right?
Yes.
So if this can be avoided, right? Now people have seen that, online meetings can happen. They can work from the comfort of their home, right? So I think this will further push them. So if a person is having a software industry in Chennai, then maybe 40% of the workforce can be in Chennai and 60% of the workforce can be working online from outside Chennai.
Makes sense.
Right? So this may help.
Okay.
So I think going forward, this restriction may not be there, right? And depending on the company, right? So some companies will have 90% of the workforce working online. Some companies will have maybe 20% workforce working online. But there will be a part of workforce of these, especially these IT companies, which is working online.
Okay. That's good. And we must be hopeful that if that happens, definitely things will change. And I heard one presentation in a conference where the speaker talked about that earlier civilization got developed near the banks of rivers. So if we see the, and now probably in future civilization, then it started again near highways. So wherever there was a highway, there was a civilization. He was forcing that probably in future civilization will happen near the fiber optics network, that wherever there are high speed networks, you will have civilization near that point.
That's such an interesting analogy, right? That's so correct.
Yes. Okay. Lastly, how people can contact you, just a brief about your courses, that what kind of courses you are offering, and how people can get in touch with you.
Right. So right now we are focusing on these two courses. One is for coding round and second is for system design round. In the second course, we are covering both low level and high level design. And in the first course, we are covering the entire coding syllabus, right? So when we say we are covering, we are preparing students for coding, I mean that, we are focusing on those 4 steps, right? Understanding the problem, then solving it logically, then converting it to code, and then unit testing it. Our focus is consciously there, even though the syllabus is the same, that, we are still talking about data structure, we are still talking about algorithms only, right? But our focus is different. And that is what probably sets Ritambara Technologies apart from other companies which are also preparing for coding, preparing students and professionals for coding, right? So I think maybe you can share the contact if people want, right?
Sure.
Or if you search for Ritambara Technologies or Kamal Rawat, you will probably find you will be able to get me on the internet. Even though we are not doing a very good job in marketing ourselves, but still you should be able to find us.
Okay, so I think the searchable term will be Kamal Rawat coding. So coding, and I think that will be a great combination of keywords to get you there. I see Vishal? The Vishal raised his hand.
Yeah. So thank you for all the good thing. I learned more than I may be able to contribute. But you said that you teach coding, but not coding as such. You are talking about those 4 steps. So can we call it as critical thinking in software word or something else? How will you give a one word to that?
See, one word is problem solving. Right?
Problem solving. Okay.
We even though it's a very common word, right? But if you go to the meaning of this word, then the meaning of this word is very deep, right?
Right.
Because if you are focusing on problem, then you will be able to, collect resources from wherever, you should be able to collect whatever resources are required to solve that problem, right? So this should be the approach of a person who is working in IT industry, right? The approach should not be that, hey, let me learn this technology. That is also good, right? I'm not saying that, right? But when you are focusing on a problem, then that learning happens as the side effect. Right. Right. And you should be genuinely good in problem solving. You should be genuinely good in coding. Right.
Yeah.
Can you just give me one
Sure,
minute?
Sure. Okay. Thanks.
So it was very good learning, I would say.
Yes. So probably I'm seeing a question from Mithun in the chat box, but we can start with.
Sorry.
Yeah. So basically, you can complete your question. I see one more question from Mithun. So I'll ask that once you answer is complete.
Yeah. So Vishal, does it answer your question?
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. So Mithun has typed a question for regarding coding, that I have a question from beginner perspective. What are the absolute basics an aspiring coder should cover before starting to code? So even before starting to code, anything that they should think of?
One thing is that don't consider this as code. Focus on the logic, right? That's why in the discussion with Vishal also I was saying problem solving, because when we use the word problem solving, then we focus on solving a problem. When we use the word coding, then we focus on technology, right? Now the shelf life of technology is very less. Okay, what Android was in version 1.0, it was completely changed in version 2.0. Okay, what Java was when I started coding in Java is completely different from what Java is today. Right? There was no auto boxing, no auto unboxing, right? But those are syntactical changes, right? Right. So once a new technology, so Kotlin was not there. Entire Android programming was in Java some few years back, right? And we were using Eclipse IDE. Now people are using Android Studio and they are using Kotlin, right? But they are still solving similar type of problems only. Okay. So you have to be genuinely good problem solver, because sometimes when we say that, hey, I want to be a good coder, then we start focusing on technology. And that is where the problem is, that, we say that, I have learned C++, so what else? Now, learning C++ does not mean that your logic is enhanced, right? Learning C++ means that you know a lot of syntaxes, right? So that's the difference between skill and knowledge, right? So there was a time when skill had the value, right? When interviews were based on skills, right? There was a time when, I started my career. At that time, people used to ask questions like, hey, what is the difference between string buffer and string builder in Java, right? Now, there cannot be two answers to this. There will be only one answer, and that is the answer which is there in the book, right? So you don't have to apply your brain. You just have to remember what is the difference, right? So those days are, I think, those days are gone, because AI has taken over, thanks to Vishal, right? So all the coding can happen automatically, right? After a few years, you will see that, coding is happening automatically, right?
But we are eating our own jobs.
but still, we do not have a replacement for knowledge, right? So now industries are looking for knowledgeable people rather than skilled people, right?
Okay.
And knowledge is what will give you high salaries, right? Skill will give you, obviously, skill will help, right? And knowledge will be built on the top of skills, right? So skills are foundation, right?
Yes.
Just that I'm saying that the focus will be different, right? Don't call it coder, don't call it problem solver, and the approach will change.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Rawat, for sharing that knowledge.